Shut up and sit down.
And welcome to the Week 9 edition of the BlackSwarm podcast. Hank Piper with Rob Antonell. Statement win over Fitch, 42-7. Let's just get right into it, brother. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, well, I think Maslin came out pretty hot. The first two drives were really good. You know, we were able to break off some big runs, and we were able to limit them basically all game. You know, they had that one, I don't remember if it was a screen or, short pass that he ended up breaking. Good player, fast player. Outside of that, defense did what it always does. I think the bigger talking point for me was that after we had those couple successful drives, the offense fell flat. It was pretty stale for, a quarter and a half worth of football. I know at the end we were able to kind of get back to it, but, we came out hot, broke off a few big runs, and then kind of fell flat for quite a while. I don't know if we were trying some new things out or what, but, Fitch is a decent team, and, kudos to them for stopping us after those first two drives. But what did you? I know you weren't there. You were watching it on the horrible telecast, from what I've heard from everyone.
Holy hell!
But what were you able to tell from what you were watching?
So, yeah, I don't know what was up because Maslin has always streamed the game through the teleproduction thing. Even the away games up until like the last few weeks of the playoffs where OSHA takes over. But it was like the Youngstown Sports Network that broadcasted this game, and it was free, and you got what you paid for. It was super, super zoomed in the entire time. Cameras couldn't follow the ball. It was hard to tell a lot what was going on, but I can speak to a little bit of what I did manage to pick up. So, yeah, we came out hot. First three drives got up big, 21-0, and then I think it was our first drive after that got behind the chains. It was like second and 15, try and throw the ball, nothing going. The next two plays, have to punt it away. And like you said, I think we tried a little bit more stuff. Ended up, it wasn't a great night passing for us. We were, 5 for 14, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You want to get those reps under live fire, and you look at a game like Glen Oak where we're obviously the more talented team, and we just kind of overpowered them, and it seemed like nothing we could do was wrong. But when you come in and you face a little bit more of a little more stout opponent in Fitch compared to Glen Oak at least, it's not always going to go right. And I think those are the things that you can learn from the most. If something goes wrong in practice, it's like, okay, we got tomorrow to get it right, whatever, until Friday game day, and hopefully everything's good to go and you're humming. It's not always going to be the case. Sometimes it's not going to bounce your way. You can't complete a pass, whatever. Defense gives you a different look you didn't expect. But it was good to see us bounce back from that. With the ground game humming like it was. We had Jameer Gamble, breakout game for him, 13 carries for 200-some yards, average like 13 yards a carry. I think DeJuan had over 100 yards as well. Yeah, he ended up carrying the rock 11 times, 134 yards. So even if we couldn't get it done through the air, we just dominated on the ground. There was a couple of things. I remember there was like a 4th and 4, 4th and 5 where we lined up in heavy and just tried to run it. And in the moment, it was like, what are we trying to do here? What's that play call? And then just like anything else, kind of sit back and think about it. And my takeaway after kind of stewing on that one for a bit is that was a fuck you run. That was a play call where it's like, we're going to line up in this. You know what we're going to be doing, and it's up to you to stop us. And credit to Fitch. They held us 2 yards. That might have been our worst run of the night, honestly.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But, remember, we did have like 4 drives in a row where we had no yards.
I would say, given the down and distance situation, only getting 2 yards on that, and our jumbo set, all things considered, I'd call it our worst run. Yeah, I know we
Okay.
had some run
I mean,
stuff.
I'm sure I could find a 1st and 10 that was worse, but okay, yeah.
I mean, you can make up for it on 1st and 10 if you get stuff for 2 yards on 1st and 10. You got 2nd and 8.
Okay, not converting a 4th down is a bad run. Yes, I
Yeah,
get that. But okay, go
that's
ahead.
all I'm saying. But I think the play call in and of itself, it was like, all right, Fitch, you're gonna have to stop us here. So I think it was less about converting a 4th down that we didn't necessarily need, being up by what 2, 3 scores at that point. It was more about it was more a statement than anything else. I think. Beyond that,
It wasn't a great practice moment.
no. But you don't need to be a negative Nancy about it, there, Robert.
Listen, I'm trying to win a state championship, and I'm upset that Fitch looked like the better team for 2 quarters.
I am not gonna say they look like the better team.
1 quarter.
I would say we look like we were trying some different stuff and it just wasn't working out in the moment. And that is what it is. It's going to happen.
I get that, but I mean, if 1 drive, 2 drives, like you're messing around and you don't get anything. But I mean, how many drives did we have in a row that were not good drives? I mean, we're a quality enough team that you should be able to at least break open a bad play once. I mean, Fitch is a decent team, but we all know they're not good. They're not great.
Yeah, just looking at
Fitch was able to go out there, go 5 wide, and say, "Hey, we're gonna nickel and dime you, and eventually stall out because we have a bad holding play, a bad snap, one missed throw." But I mean, there was a time where I know we were playing a softer defense, don't give up any big plays, but there was a time when they were driving on us fairly consistently. And if it wasn't for a bad snap, a hold, I mean, that put them behind the chains. Once you got them in, 3rd and long, 2nd and 20, like they weren't doing anything. But I mean, those are kind of like self-imposed on their side. They were nickel and diming us, hitting slants, hitting hitches, something I wish we would do more of. And they were doing it fairly successfully. I know we kept them out of the end zone, we kept them, out of the red zone, kept them out of field goal range, but there was a point in time, more than a couple drives, where Fitch was the better offense on the field.
I am going to push back and wholeheartedly disagree saying those holding penalties and bad snaps are self-imposed. I mean, how many times all year have we said that the bad snaps are because Big Mike's lined up over there and he's kicking the center's
Yes.
ass? And
Yes, I get
you
that.
can see that. How often is an offensive lineman, when he's dominating the guy in front of him, going to hold the guy as well? That doesn't happen very much. The offensive line is holding because he's getting his ass kicked, and that's the only thing he can do to not lose that rep.
A lot of times, not always, but yes, I get it. I mean, obviously, we all understand that bad snaps and holds and false starts are self-imposed. Even if your defensive line is the one that's the root cause of it, those are self-imposed issues. And you can go back to the root. And I understand our defensive line is really good, and Big Mike causes a lot of center. I have nightmares all week and the week after. I mean, I get it, but this is a game where I don't think 42-7 was really what I saw out there. I mean, it was probably the first time all year, maybe like the first half of the Valdosta game, but like since then, it's probably the first time I've heard like groups of people in the stands complaining about how the game's going.
Well, you know how I feel about groups of fans complaining in the stands.
I get that, but I'm saying I think it's the first time I've noticed it this year. And it was
And
against Fitch.
I mean, I'll even say in the moment, I am also one of those people. But it's like you have to sit back and look at what was happening. Sure, they were putting drives together a little bit, dinking and dunking down the field. I think our defense was trying some new stuff as well. That was the first.
We had a few players out. I mean, I get it. Hack wasn't playing. You had to move some guys around. You had a freshman corner out there. Like these are all. I get it, right? And I would just rather critique the 42-7 win than praise it right now because that's not going to win a state championship.
And I'm fine critiquing it as well. Some of the pushback I'm giving is just to, generate a little bit of
Mhm.
conversation. I'm just looking for points here because we are making a show, and it'd be just kind of boring if we're both agreeing everything at the same time. But I will say, I think our defense schematically, not just like the players involved, was trying stuff a little bit new. When a team goes empty on us, I'm used to watching us send the house, blitz them every which way we can, get pressure on the quarterback, make it come out quick. And from what I could tell, it looked like our defense was playing a lot more off coverage, a little bit more man coverage in there, just not blitzing as much, kind of going against the grain of our tendencies a little bit. And I
Mhm.
don't know if that's what we felt we could do on Fitch. I don't know if that's we were just putting a lot of tendency breakers out there, if we are just trying out new stuff because it obviously an inferior opponent, or whatever the reason was. I think both sides of the ball we are trying stuff new, going against the grain a little bit, and you're going to have some growing pains with that. Um,
Yeah,
that
I
being said,
completely understand. And I'm not really critiquing our defense. I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do. I'm more
mm-hmm.
critiquing about how when a team lines up and does that type of offense, it's usually gained some traction. And even when they were down and really out, they were still able to go out there and get yards. And we fell on our face for a couple drives.
And I mean,
And there was a point in time where I was thinking if we completely switched our play calls right now, we'd be up like 60 to nothing. If they ran all our plays and we ran all their plays in the second quarter, we would have scored.
I
I
mean,
want to see us go out there and be able to do that. Even when you're down, I know you're trying different things. Well, hey, I want you to go out there and try five wide, dink and dunk a little bit, or spread it out a little bit. It's something a lot of teams base out of, and it's not what we base out of. I'm not saying we should, but I feel like it would be a pretty easy install. You go out there and just, hey, let's couple slants, a couple hitches, let the quarterback read the field, let him get a few easy throws under his belt before we start taking 40-yard shots or roll out smash. I mean, yeah, DeLon had one where roll out smash and he missed it because he's on his back foot. And, that's probably the first time he threw on the run all day.
I mean, yeah, it would be cool to see us go five wide and dink and dunk down the field on cats, but I don't think that's DeWan's game.
When you need to, when you want to. I mean, it's something I feel like you just throw in there. I mean, if it works against us with Fitch's offense, which their quarterback was a little bit better than I expected, I'll give him credit. Still not a world beater by any means. But I mean, we have loads of athletes. We have more receivers than we can put on the field. And we have a quarterback that is an absolute great runner and a serviceable thrower, gets the job done. But I feel like there's no reason why you can't take some more easy plays when a defense wants to give it to you.
Yeah, um, I think that generally speaking is kind of the philosophy of our offense at times is take the easy button. It's we've had coaches on in previous years and talked about what they like to do, and it's take what the defense is giving you. And there's plenty of different ways to do that. Now, I would say, having seen DeWan throw live in games, sometimes those easy buttons aren't that easy for him. We've seen him the pick six late on the hitch to against Mansfield. We've seen him miss a slant last week or the week before that. Even going back and watching a
Hmm.
little bit of his film last year to get an idea of what kind of kid he was. Yeah, they ran a lot of 4 and 5 wide, but it was more to give him space to run the ball. Even when they were the concepts that they were calling for him at Copley, he was wanting those deep shots. He was taking the one-on-one downfields. He was trying to push the ball downfield. I don't think taking the hitch five play calls in a row is the name of his game either. He's an aggressive player, and it's kind of a philosophy that a lot of defenses can use against offenses is you're not going to take the hitch 5 times
Yeah, I know. What a shame.
all right down the
What a
field.
shame.
Yeah.
No team's ever going to just throw hitch, 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 hitch. They're going to get trigger happy and they're going to want to take shots. When a lot of the times you could go hitch, 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 hitch all the way down the field. But I mean, I'm just saying there's going to come a time where somebody's going to have a tougher defensive front against us, and they're going to blitz us. And I know that our receivers are pretty good at dealing with man coverage, but we still don't have a whole lot of size. That's something we mentioned a lot. And, how many times is Toles going to be able to get open one-on-one and we can deliver a good pass down the sideline? And that's our passing attack for that situation. I mean, when a team like Hoban starts blitzing the hell out of us, are we going to be able to spread their defense open up the box for the run as well, keep them honest, and take 5 yards when we can get it?
And you know what? That might be something that they look at, something they can work on as well. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying from what I've seen so far, it's really not in our wheelhouse to do that. If Fitch wants to come out and do that on us, good on him. It's from 20 to 20. Those are great play calls. But when that field gets compressed,
Yeah, I'm not saying we should base out of it. I mean, it worked great for Fitch between the 20s. I mean, it worked great for Green between the 20. I mean, you see teams that base out of it, they get a lot of yards, and sometimes they stall out in the red zone. And I'm not saying that should be the basis of our offense. I'm just saying it's nice to mix in every now and then because there's going to be times when you're struggling up front. And, you just want to open up the box a little bit.
yeah. And personally, I am a fan of 5 wide as well. I would also like to see that mixed in a little bit if you can do it. The issue with that is in high school, a lot of times you're going to have defenses that are just going to say, hey, this isn't something you base out of. You're not going to be prepared for all of the different blitzes we can throw at you. It's a lot easier to install 1 or 2 blitzes that can beat basic pass protections than it is to install, 2 or 3 different pass protections that you need to consistently run empty out of. Now, having a strong QB run game can mitigate that a little bit, but you need to be in the down and distance where a run play is a legit call as well. 3rd and 15, you line up in 5 wide. You're probably not running the ball if you're hoping to convert. So it's just with everything involved, it's a lot easier said than done, especially with how our QB likes to play. And that's not a knock on him. We've critiqued him before, but he is at his base kind of an aggressive thrower. He's an aggressive player, and I like that. I like that gunslinger mentality. Like, push that ball down the field, go make the big play. He's a big game hunter out there. Certain times, certain situations, you kind of want to train that out of him, but how hard is it to get NFL players to kind of play against their nature, let alone a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid? So, yeah, it'd be nice to see. I just don't think at this time it's really in our game. I will absolutely not say that Fitch at any point looked like the better offense. I think they just found a groove when we were trying different stuff and it just wasn't working out. And we were flailing a little bit, and then you go back to your bread and butter stuff, and we got it going again. Yeah, obviously not something you want to see, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Fair point.
So with that, I don't think I really have much else to add to the Fitch game. Am I misremembering, or did the refs seem a little kind of meh again?
Not off the top of my memory. I don't remember much about the refs this game.
Okay. Or maybe it was just I think it might have just been the god-awful broadcast trying to just not doing a great job showing any communication by the referees. That might be it. Regardless, that's all I got for the game. Rob, you got anything else to add?
Nope.
With that, we'll move right into film room, huh? All right, so first up, just a nice little game recap from Huddle themselves. So starting off here, we did a lot of this fullback motion. Fitch tried to adjust to it a lot all night. And just here, hitting the backside A-gap on power. Doesn't get much better than that. You can see just all of their linebackers kind of overplaying the pulling guard. and Jameer takes it to the house. Here, a little Z post action. Honestly, I think this is the best I have ever seen any team trade off and try and cover the post. So, what's going to happen here is the guy lined up over number 11 at the top of the numbers there is actually going to man turn with the corner, but I think he recognizes the trail post coming right behind it, since this is the only play we have with that kind of route combination to start before anyone actually breaks on the routes. He actually turns back and does a good job trying to get back on top of that post. Obviously, over top like that, you don't have great leverage to defend it, but still great play recognition and nice job trying to cover our money play.
Yeah, you're right. It would be nice if we were able to mix in another route combo or two with that same beginning, so it can't just be recognized right away. Though I think there's a way we can fake that. Did we run a fake one of these against McKinley the one year, or was that something else I was thinking of?
Yeah, last year. So I think it's the guy running the corner route was
Just kind of like runs a slot fade or something.
he ran like a corner and go. Just kind of like give a little head fake to the corner and then break back just right down the seam. I think it was Banks we had running it. That was usually our go-to when we'd line him up in the slot. I think that was the game we debuted it in, and then might have hit it a couple more times through the playoffs, but yeah, that was our one counter off of it. I mean, I think there's a lot you can do. Just have him like run a sit route if they really want to overplay the post in the corner, or just a outbreaker comeback, something like that. I think there's a lot you can do with it, but we haven't really shown or needed to show it much yet, since it seems like it's worked against pretty much every team we've called it against.
Yeah, you can see the teams are kind of catching on to it, though. I mean, there's no way that this safety makes that play unless he's seen it 100 times in practice.
Let's see here. Staring at the corner, and well, yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. If you just do a little sit there for the team that like passes it off too early, just do a little comeback curl right there underneath of it.
Yep, just right here, kind of just pump the brakes. I mean, nobody's underneath. You get the ball out quick, anticipation, he's going to have a lot of room to run.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of ends up doing it here. He brings it across flatter, but I mean, you could run a dig off of it. That would really just be if they're playing too far off. But I think the adjustment to this is coming across flatter if the safety's over top of you. And then Owen throws it underneath. Works out pretty well. But I mean, there's a couple of different things you could do there, I guess. But it'd be nice to see if they could mix in like a completely different concept as well. But I've been trying to think of one, and just nothing off the top of my head.
Here, right before halftime, this might have been the absolute worst play trying to watch from the broadcast, because I couldn't have told you for the life of me how Tolles came so wide ass open. It was like super zoomed in. In fact, I think the guy standing at the top of the F there in the back of the end zone might have been the fucking cameraman for whatever crew they were running, because all I could see was the box from the back of the defense.
Nice little pick play. Jacques does just enough of a rub there that, I mean, throwing your arm out like that's not ideal. I'm sure he got coached up on it, but
I mean,
the idea is to do a very natural, accidentally get in that guy's way. If it I mean, in high school, it's not going to get called as much as college and NFL, but if it looks like you're trying to hit that guy, they're going to throw a pass
Oh
interference
yeah,
on it.
and you would want to see like a little, just one of those innocent little turn and look for the ball. Like, oh no, I'm just running my route. But
Yeah, I mean, if you just run your route and stop right in front
mhm.
of him, like make it look like you're running that, or a little stop route right in front of him, he's going to run into you. I mean, that's fine. You just can't run into him
Yeah.
intentionally. And you don't have to even make contact all the time. You just got to get in the way.
What do you think of Toll's release
But I mean,
here?
um, the timing worked out. I think he could have gave him a little bit more of an inside shimmy, but the timing is really the most important aspect of
Hmm.
that. Since they're in man, you just have to get a step on the defender, and you know the defender's getting rubbed. So you don't really have to put much of a move on him. You just have to get a step ahead of him. I still probably would have given him a little bit of a shimmy, just because. But when it comes down to it, all you have to do is get a step on him, and I think he times it up
Hmm.
perfect.
I just love the casual nature of just kind of walking off and oh, gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse for a defender than when you have a guy just like walking at you, like, where's he gonna go? Defender does a pretty good job of keeping his feet chopping
Hmm.
and is able to react to it, but the rub is just enough to get in his way.
And here, I mean, you know, defense has the box loaded. Just nice little easy rollout to the right. Yeah. Ideally, you don't want to call a rollout to the opposite hand of your quarterback, but obviously field position kind of dictates that play call. From a high school hash, you're not running a rollout into the boundary. That's just asking for absolute worst case scenario. No spacing, nowhere to go with the ball. But line does a great job picking it up, and DeWan just makes it look almost as easy as Tolles did there.
Is this the fourth quarter? Yeah. 28-7.
Let's see, what was it? Oh, just our little Q dart become a bit of a money play for us. And he's just such a slippery runner. A play we normally see run out of our four wide stuff. But great job here. We've been running power with the quarterback and tailback, or with the fullback and tailback split like that. So giving them that same pre-snap alignment, that same cross-face action by the tailback just gets the defense already primed, thinking run downhill into the boundary here. Doesn't seem like they really pick up the tackle pulling. Nice hole created there by 77. Gives DeWan a lot of room to do DeWan things. Right back, same play call. Easy peasy. I think part of Fitch's problem all night was they were just coming way too hard downhill and getting lost in the wash. There's nobody on that second level anymore post snap to really come up and make a
Yep.
play.
Especially when their end decides to go inside of the block.
Yeah, that's rough. Just get a nice seal. Don't need a lead blocker for that. Bounce it outside and let your athletes be athletes. Just another motion. You can see them really adjusting to that. But it doesn't matter because they don't leave anybody in the backside A gap. Their only linebacker back there just gets picked up way too easy by the front side double team. And Jameer showing why he's a special player. That was what? Lennox back getting in the action a little bit, huh?
Yep, he played a little bit there. Definitely noticed him in the beginning of the game getting some carries.
So, as you can see, Huddle still has its own issues, but we'll keep it moving right along into Jameer Gamble highlights. So, we saw this highlight earlier.
How repetitive are these?
Huh?
I said, how repetitive are these?
There's only a
highlights?
couple. We'll just let these roll through. Hit him with a little counter action. Bring the fullback to one side. Fitch adjusts. And then hit him right back where they ran away from. I think if you told me we ran counter like 50 times on Friday night, I would believe you. Because it seemed like we just kept going back to the well on that one. Same right here. And they just couldn't stop it. Good job by Gamble seeing the inside just all clogged up and not really in a position to get off that block. Bounce it outside. If you're going to bounce it, you better get 5, and he picked up like 20 there. Little mesh action. Great man coverage beater. They don't have anybody out in the flat to account for the running back. Not something we do very often is free release him. So if you can hit your guy on the swing route with a lot of grass in front of him, pretty decent business model. Just another bounce play side, making dudes miss. Right back to it on the counter. Just a little jet sweep fake. Little eye candy for the defense. This one's counter again. And my boy Steve Hogan, fullback, just comes in and absolutely decleats a kid. Just watch the fullback on this play.
Yeah, that guy had a rough night. 33. Yeah, I've seen him on a few highlights. Pretty much with the same result.
Nice little horse collar tackle that didn't get called.
Yeah. I mean, 33 is just lining up like in one of the gaps and just not much resistance. I mean, he's not a very big kid, you can tell.
Just more there trying to clog up holes, make us get the line to kind of, not really too sure of their assignment since that's a bit of a funky front. So that's all for Jameer. Now we have the ever-present Pringle highlights. Bit of a staple on the show here. That's something Fitch tried to do all night. I was surprised how often they tried to attack us outside and on the edge. If they thought they had some speed, some kind of matchup advantage they could take, they could attack, but they hit 1 or 2, but there really wasn't much going for them most of the night there. As we show a 10-yard gain. Give up some yards here, but just good job breaking down, not letting the squirrely dude get away from him. Had some oomph to that run. That one too.
Little Marshawn action there.
He's gonna get got, but he's gonna get his more than he get got. Just nice little speed rush, dip right through the punching tackle. Don't give him a big target and get right to the quarterback.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, blitzing in general, but coming off the edge like that, so tough.
Yeah, that is tough to defend as a tackle. I mean, a whole lot of space out there. He's bendy. He's fast. You're trying not to punch too early.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a three-man rush, and Bond and Pringle are both back there pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Not to discount Big Mike pushing the pocket on that one. Whoops.
Yeah, the left guard wanted nothing to do with Big Mike there. It was kind of weird. He just left the center on an island. Just
I mean, if I'm bless it. If I'm trying to guess at what it is, that's going to be the slide side. So that left guard's responsibility is his B gap. So all he can really do is put a hand out and hope for the best while looking for any work coming his way. Obviously, it doesn't look great with a three-man rush and him not really doing much. But with as much as we like to blitz,
I get it.
You're kind of expecting someone to show in your gap sooner or later. Yeah, they do a little bit better job on him this time. So with that, keep it moving right into some page highlights. Good job tackling, swarming to the ball. That's what our defense does. I noticed this one. We got a guy, you can't see him. You can just barely see him at the bottom of the screen. Is that last little edge defender. And I think we put that there after seeing their throwback kick return hit a similar version of our kickoff coverage for a big play on film earlier.
Yeah, I think another aspect is that Fitch lined up a lot of their guys on one side of the field for the return. Mm-hmm. And I think it was partially to, maybe hope that it spreads them out a little bit, give them the threat of an onside over there, a pooch kick down the sideline, which I think we ended up doing at one point.
Did we?
I don't know. That sounds like something I saw. But, I mean, I think the idea was, it takes away the throwback, but maybe they would spread out a little bit because they have all 11 guys inside the hash. It didn't make them spread out, but, I mean, it's a little bit of a safety net, but also maybe it'll spread them out, give them the threat of a pooch kick down the sideline. And, I mean, if a team's going to do that, we might as well take a shot on a pooch kick down the sideline, especially if we still have our backup kicker in there that, isn't putting it inside the 15 very consistently. So, a pooch down the opposite sideline might be right up his alley of where, Donis down here can go get one.
The only thing I would say with that is he is your backup kicker. How confident are you in him putting the pooch kick where it needs to be and making it not look completely obvious that he's going for the pooch kick in the first place?
Well, you got two jobs. all week long, and one of it is kicking it straight ahead, maybe angled to the right a little bit.
Mm.
I think if you added in, hey, let's try to kick one to the left, you got all week to practice it, multiple weeks. I'm sure you could try to fit it in there. Also, with he doesn't have the strongest leg in the world. I feel like the math might just work out pretty well. Where if he angled it to the left, one of his max kicks might end up being a decent pooch kick. Just take a little bit off of it. If you're going across the field, I mean, right now we're doing pooches down the right sideline, and I know like you'd have to contort your body to kick to the left,
Mm.
but I mean, it's not like you'd have to line up on the opposite side of the ball. You could still come at it with a fairly neutral attack angle, a run up, and then just kick it to the left. It's not like it's an onside kick where you have to do something sneaky. Just kind of pooch it to the left side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he has that in his bag. I just, with as much as it seems like he's been, I don't want to say struggling. I mean, he was the backup kicker for a reason. He can't really get the distance, get it down as far as we want it to, and then when he does, it's on a little bit of a line drive, and that's left teams able to set up a good return on us. I just question if it's a skill thing, if he can do it. It's easy to say he
Yeah.
should be able to. I just don't necessarily know if he can. That's all.
Okay. Well, let's go down your line of thinking. Let's run with that. Let's say maybe he's not capable of doing what we're asking him to
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm going to resort back to something I've been saying for 15 years. There are at least 5 kids on that sideline right now that can consistently kick a ball into the end zone on kickoff. If you think I'm wrong, like try it out. I I mean, unless you send me film of every single kid on the team trying to kick kickoffs, I'm not going to believe you because ask a kid on the team. Just ask one of them. You remember like it's probably, cleaned up a little bit since when we played. There was a lot of free
Mm-hmm.
time or, freshman year, middle, there was free time. What did you do? You kicked balls around, you punted balls around. Um, there is multiple kids on this team and every team in America, maybe except for the like 8-man football teams where they only have 8 men on the entire team. Every normal football team in America has multiple kids that can consistently kick touchbacks. So if it is a skill thing, if you're saying this guy's not getting the job done, throw somebody else out there. What do you think? You think Hack can kick off a TN? But I mean, he can punt and he's got a strong leg. Need to work on the form a little bit on his punts, but he's got a strong leg. Owens looked like he had a pretty strong leg. Again, fix that form a little bit and you're golden. Um, put a T down, just see what they do. I only say this because it was 100% that way for us, but I refuse to
So,
believe, we were just a team full of great kickers and no one else is like that.
so I wouldn't say every team in America has like 5 kids on the sideline, but
At
I
least one.
would I would probably say there is at least one on the sideline that can consistently put it in the end zone. However, also I was kind of like setting you up to go down that little tangent because I know you love talking about it, and
Well, it's true.
content's content. So here we are. I will say though, what I'm saying with if he can't do it, specifically that I'm talking about the pooch kick down the left sideline to set up kind of a onside-ish kick
Yeah.
to try and recover it ourselves. I think he can do a normal kickoff slightly above enough to get the job done, and that's why he's doing it right now. Um, my only question is if he can consistently get that little pooch down the opposite sideline to make it recoverable for your lone guy down there. That's all.
Well, it doesn't have to be super consistent. It's a shot play. Like, if you miss a little bit, whatever. Yeah, it happens. But trying to keep him honest. Just trying to keep him honest.
Yeah, well, if you're going to put it on film or just trying to keep him honest, I mean, this would be the game to do it. We saw what the final score was. I don't think giving them the ball at the anywhere between the 35 to 45, if we just like yeet it out of bounds or something like that, would be the worst thing in the world for us. That's just, all right, kid, better luck next time. But I don't know. I'd like to see him try it. We got Warren coming up. Wouldn't be the worst team in the world to attempt it on. And then whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying it because of how Fitch is lined up.
Yeah.
If the kickoff return is going to line up more normal, then there's no need. But if a team's going to line up like this, might as well take a shot. Why not?
They are begging for it. The only thing I would say is, like, if he just shanks it out of bounds at like the 47, that's kind of a rough look. And we know how it's a very common talking point how kickers are very, what would be a good word for it? Just always in their own heads. They're a lot like golfers. They're kind of...
Well, yeah, you got one job. Like, you go out there and kick, and I'm not saying it's easy, but when you're only doing one thing over and over and over again, and usually it's not against any kind of defense, it's your own movements. Like, obviously it's going to be in your own head. It's very mental. So, I mean, yeah, you don't want to get in a kicker's head. I get that.
Yeah, it's a very mental position. It's you versus you. Everybody, except literally the entire stadium is watching you do your job and judging you on it. Like I said, it's just like golf. You have one bad shot, it's just a mental down spiral, and then suddenly that kid is just completely unserviceable for the rest of the year. It's kind of tough. Nice little balancing act. Not in a position I'd ever hope to be in. Trying to manage that, at least. I'd like to think I have the mental fortitude enough, at least, like, well, that one sucked. I probably won't do it again, though.
Yeah.
So, nice little tangent. Get back to the film here.
I think Page is a good player.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very unfortunate that his highlights, because of his position, are usually the most underwhelming. Like, I made a tackle, but it was a 15-yard play. Or I chased down a kickoff returner on a 50-yard return. I mean, this one, he just kind of like knocks him out of bounds, didn't even tackle him. That's the nature of your position. You're going to come up and make tackles.
Yeah.
But it's not a whole lot of like great viewing content highlight.
It is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. And I
like almost smacked that ball out, which would have been a really good play. Still got a good play, but like, you knock that ball out, it's a highlight.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just I mean, it's a good play. It's good tape. It's not making it on SportsCenter.
And I think a lot of it, I mean, that one, same thing. But a lot of it is like, we have the defensive line and the ability to blitz to not really let teams push the ball down the field much to get it out and attack our safeties like that. So, yeah, a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, no big plays. I get it. It's just not great for highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not it. He's a good tackler, and, he makes sure players get down in space, but that's not a highlight.
No.
Coming up and tapping a guy after he's already tackled.
I mean,
if you're trying to like show, I understand like this is for like college coaches to see. It's not meant for fans to watch. And there's a lot of good tape of him on here, showing the angles that he takes, being in position, pursuit, stuff like that. But from like a fan standpoint, like they're not highlights.
Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, this is a cool little play here. Kind of a funky formation. You don't see many teams in high school line up an empty bunch. Looks like they run kind of a hitch down here to the Twins, a hitch outside with like a shield block in front of them by the slot, and then you got a bubble to the other side. And it's just pick the numbers. Adonis does a good job of not giving up outside leverage, forcing the play back inside. You want to see your guy in a position to make the tackle, but he more or less makes it. A little shoestring tackle there. Also, wow, that's Wiggins. So not even like a kid we're used to seeing play defense.
Yeah. Any open field tackle is a good tackle.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yeah. You got to play that. I mean, we'd love to see you make the tackle here, obviously. And then I was going to say, if not, maybe like hit that outside shoulder, force him back in. But, the whole bouncing down the line thing, it works. I see why it works. But
I mean, I think everyone here does a good job just stretching the play out. Vito comes in, really eats up two blockers.
Yeah.
Okay. The slot wants to come in and crack him, and he does a good job.
Yeah, so this is where you'd like to see
coming downhill quick.
You'd like to see Page come in here and just rock the quarterback's world.
Hey, it's 3rd and short. We stretch it out and get a tackle for loss here, I think. So, can't ask much more than that, really. Yeah, you want to see the big highlight hit, but still. So, with that should be it on the Fitch tape. And we got... So, on to Warren. First up, we got the running backs highlights, which he seems to be the heart and soul of their offense. So, kid seems like a bit of an athlete, and, I'll get to watch him be an athlete here. Just a little guard wrap. I watched this play when I first recorded it and made kind of a mental note to say, like, oh, he's not down, and then forgot about it again as we were watching it.
A little Wildcat option?
Oh, yeah. They love this dude in the Wildcat.
Well, when Warren has a good player, that's all you're going to see.
Yeah, fumbled snap. Way to make something out of nothing on 4th and short. He has a tendency to bounce it. Not quite follow his blocks.
As expected. As expected.
Yeah. But I think he's used to being the fastest kid on the field at the same time, so he can generally get away with
crap. Do they have a center?
Technically.
We've watched like 5 highlights, and all 5 of them have bad snaps.
Hey, these are the running backs highlights, not the centers.
Ah, yes, I remember middle school recess. Oh, God.
When it's the competition you're playing, I mean, sometimes middle school recess ball is all you need.
I wonder how often he hands that off.
I think that one is a called run. I mean, he's not really putting the ball in the running back's chest in a spot where he can really take the handoff.
Oh, I don't think he ever had intention of handing it off, even if it wasn't.
He says, I'm the best player. I'm going to go make a play. So, yep, that's the running back. Pretty sure we got enough of your thoughts on him. Next up, we got Drew McCowan, their quarterback. I was watching a little bit of the Boardman highlights, the Boardman game, and he went out early in the first quarter and then didn't start the following week. So we might see him on Friday. We might not. I'm not sure. But at least with this, you can kind of get a feel for the rest of their offensive line, what they like to do in the passing game. Get a feel for.
He's missed at least 2 weeks.
Oh. Get a feel for the receivers a little bit. So even if he's not the one slinging the rock, you're still going to kind of have an idea of what they like to do offensively. Kid's got an arm on him. Can't get over those bad snaps, huh?
Oh, they're horrendous snaps. It's not even like they're a little bit off. It's insanely consistent how bad the snaps are on their highlights.
I mean, if you're going to be bad, at least be consistent about it.
Yeah, that was a pretty good throw. Well, kind of got off his back foot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you that he's taken some quarterback lessons. It was uglier the second time, but the throw was good.
Yeah.
You can tell he's taken some quarterback lessons, and I'm guessing not from Warren's coaching staff, because that right there was like peak 2003 to the quarterback teach tape right there. Look at the footwork.
Yeah.
Like, you saw Peyton Manning do that a million times in his career, and then come off it real quick, get right back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. I love that. Gets back, and then it's the step to the left, just back to it. Shoulder squared, deliver a strike. I don't think they teach that at Warren, so he's been working with somebody besides Warren's coaching staff.
I mean, if you told me Warren was teaching the quarterbacks like it's 2003 and we haven't invaded Iraq yet, then I'd believe you.
Oh, I would believe that. I just don't think they teach quarterbacks like technique in general. I don't know if they teach any of their kids technique.
Is this still the basketball coach that's the head coach there?
I don't know if it is or not. That was such a dumb move when they did that. He was a great basketball coach. They moved him to football. Horrible football coach.
Yeah, it's because
I don't know if he's still there or not, but it was a bad move. Probably paid more money to be a football coach.
Yeah. I mean, they were on the oh god, I'm blanking on the name. They were on the Ted Lasso stuff before it was cool.
He's got a short delivery.
Yeah.
I mean, real like
Nice, tight, and compact.
it looks like he's in like a training video right now when he throws. I mean, he's not like amazing, He throws a decent ball, but it's more the form where it just looks very Peyton Manning-ish. Even like the follow through is just that's the right hip coming across. It just looks like Peyton Manning's form.
And that's a tough throw right there. I mean, from it's not quite the hash, but from farther than center of the middle of the field to the far sideline.
Yeah.
Dies a little bit at the end, but it's still got some zip on it.
I like this kid. It's just the little mannerisms he has, like when he ducks his shoulder but keeps his feet.
Like that?
Let's see. I mean, yeah, just those little movements. You see like how he moves his upper body. It's real, like everything's very egregious when he moves. His shoulders, he flinch like it it's like it looks unnatural because I mean it is forced, but like in a good way. Like all of that it's teach tape. I mean, I'm not a quarterback's coach. I'm not saying that like his form is perfect, but you can tell that every time he moves, it has some type of like training behind it.
There's a purpose to the
Every
movement.
little
He's just not out there flailing around.
Yeah, like go back to this one. Just the way he steps up in the pocket, it just is kind of dips in.
Finds the hole, gets a.
It's you can tell he has been working with a quarterback
Mm,
coach. Shout out to whoever's quarterback coach is, because a lot of these movements are it's just looks like really good form, very under control all the
it's
time.
all very purposeful, and it's like you can almost watch him thinking about what he needs to do while he's doing it, but not in a
hmm
negative way.
Yeah, I mean this is what Peyton did. This is what Tom Brady did. This is what those stereotypical pocket passing quarterbacks did. All those little movements. Now you got the guys that like to like free for all, um, and it just looks different out
Hmm.
there, like NFL guys. But this is very early 2000s pocket passing quarterback teach tape
And
when it comes to like footwork and body movement.
and there's something to that too. I mean, I think back then, and it's weird to say like '03 was back then, but it was like this is how a quarterback should look. This is what he should do during his drop. This is how
hmm
he should throw the ball. I think nowadays it's getting a little more of, hey, this kid's been throwing since he could walk, since he could pick up a ball. Like, let's not mess with his form too much. Let's just let his natural body mechanics kind of do their thing. He wouldn't be throwing the way he is if it's not unnatural to him. And then from there, it's refine those specific movements to each specific guy. So
Yeah,
there's
I mean, I get that for sure. And there's plenty of great throwers out there where you don't have to perfect their form. They can go out there and sling it. Like nobody's ever going to critique Patty Mahomes for throwing off his back foot or something. Like um, it's just the way it is. But I feel like there are still a lot of players out there that have gotten by with athleticism and making some gunslinger throws, and then they get to the next level and they could probably refine their form a little bit. So I see both sides of it. You don't want to create a robot. You want the player to be a player. But at the same time, you know, there are players that could definitely work on their form at the highest level.
mhm.
I mean, Cam Newton, um, not always known for his accuracy. He worked out with Whitfield the 1 year and then went on to have an MVP season. And then the future years, he couldn't hit the broadside of the barn if you gave him 10 tries. So, I mean, there's definitely some form and technique out there that can help everyone. And some of those quarterbacks, they need it. So, but again, I'm not talking about this guy's skill level as much as just his form. I love, it's nostalgic watching a quarterback have this form because you haven't seen anything like this really. This, prominent outside of, an old school NFL QB.
Yeah. And yeah, even like talking about modern quarterbacks working on their form, I remember reading an article, I think it was going into last year, talking about how Joe Burrow was even still working on, little tweaks he could make to his throwing motion to
hmm
just get that little bit more oomph to really drive the ball and get that thing in there. It's just little stuff like, oh, you're not driving off of your back heel as much as you could be. Let's work on getting that. Let's work on getting that foot all the way down so you can generate 5, 10, 15% more
hmm
power into your throws, and that's what separates the goods from the greats. But yeah, to what you're saying, to your point, it is a very throwback style of robotic QB play, but kid can do it and he looks good doing it.
Yeah. Well, whereas it's robotic, it almost becomes second nature. I mean, when you need to step up in the pocket, you're able to do it because you know exactly how to do it. You know where to step, you know how to turn your body so that when you do go to make a throw, you're in position for
Hmm.
it. you're always keeping yourself in position, and that's really the name of the game here. Is no matter where I need to move, no matter how I need to adjust, I'm in position to still make a throw. So this guy, he's able to keep his eyes downfield, and when he needs to make a throw, he makes it. There's no readjustment. He's not throwing off his back hip. He's not throwing across his body. He's constantly keeping himself in a position to when he needs to pull the trigger, he's ready for it. And I think that that is a lot of the form that I'm talking about, where it's not just your throwing motion itself, it's getting yourself into that position to throw it. Because when you have a tight window, you got to release it quick. If you're not in position for it, you're not going to get all on it, or you're going to throw across your body, you're going to be inaccurate. But if you're constantly keeping yourself, and you can tell he's worked on it so much that it's second nature to him. And so he's always keeping himself in a position to throw. And that's what I love about it. More than the actual throwing mechanism, it's how he's able to maneuver the pocket, keep his feet moving, keep his weight balanced, and then deliver the throw when he needs to.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not trying to say, he's robotic in a bad way. He's obviously getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And, like we always say, this is just the highlights, but still, these are good highlights. I'm just saying it's robotic.
Yeah, I think his arm strength might be not quite where you would want it to be. If you were like a college coach looking at this. But I love everything else about it so far. I mean, he has a decent arm. We've seen a couple strong throws, and I'm excited to see the rest of these. But if I saw him like rocketing in some passes right now, I, I mean, I don't know why not. Why couldn't he be one of the better quarterbacks we see?
Yeah.
I doubt that the consistency is there, but these are highlights.
These are highlights. These just happen to be highlights that if you put this QB's form up against any other QB tape from 2003, it's all going to look exactly the same.
If Middletown's quarterback showed the body movements that this kid is, I'd be asking for him to go to Ohio State right now.
Yeah. You're
based on film. Like if we're only watching highlights, see, it just looks like that ball hangs on him just a little bit on this. I mean, he got there. That's a good throw. But if you're talking about like next level, it's like, oh, is this good? Does he got college potential, D1 college potential? I'd like to see this more on a line. But everything else about it is, he put it right where it needed to be. And, right now he's looking like 40-year-old Peyton Manning. But let's see some more. Yeah, see, it just looks like, I don't know if it's the film or maybe a little bit of the lag between it going from your computer through our system to my computer through a different system. But it just looks like it's coming off a little slow.
I mean, it doesn't really have that zip on there that you'd like to see.
It's not zip, not noticeable zip. Yeah.
It just kind of hangs in the air like a teens too long for how he looks while throwing the ball compared to how the ball comes out of his hands. It doesn't really pop off his hands like you'd want to see there.
Talking about using that back foot, he didn't use it. He's not pushing off his back foot quite as much. Right here, you can see it. Like he kind of throws. It's a lot of upper body though. He snaps his right shoulder across his body, but he's not really pushing off his back foot very much. So I mean, there's a little bit of power left on the table for sure.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like the issue on his last throw too, right?
Yeah, you see his hips don't really move when he throws that much. His upper body does drastically. He's really slinging his right shoulder across his body, but his hips don't really go through it at all. And he has his back foot. I mean, his back foot comes off the ground, but it doesn't look like he's driving off of it.
Yeah, looks like.
So I think there's probably a little bit of room on the table for him to put some more oomph on it.
Huh?
But, I'm not a QB coach, but I have been throwing things for 29 years.
I'm more familiar with the throwing things between your legs type motion, so I am by no means an expert on quarterback play.
That was pretty good. That one was like more across his body, on the run a little bit.
Drives it in there. I mean, yeah.
Nice little throw.
It's a lot of upper body strength, and that's what a lot of these highlights have been.
Mm-hmm.
That would seem like he had a little more oomph on it.
A little bit. He could still use more legs on his throw, but I just look how natural he is stepping up on that pocket, staying square, ducks underneath the rush, steps up in the pocket. It just looks so natural to him.
I think,
I hope it doesn't sound like I'm hyping this kid up like way too much because a lot of the things I'm talking about, great form, great presence, um, but actual top of the line talent so far. I mean, these are highlights. It looks like he's getting the job done, but he's not. Like the throws themselves aren't.
I mean, you did spend the first.
They're not making me. They're not making me call up any colleges to promote
I
him.
mean, you did spend the first 20 minutes on the podcast shitting on Maslin, and then you're drooling over a quarterback of a 4-4 team. So perspective.
I'm drawing over his form and presence in the pocket. I've talked about how I think his arm strength is lacking a little bit, and these are the highlights. So who knows what he's doing on the lowlights? But
Yeah, but when I say that, it's not as funny.
I do like it. I like it.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I like him.
I mean, I think here he having to step up in the pocket like that and being around the rush. I think this one has a little more zip on it just because he put everything he had into it because he knew he had to get that ball out. When you step up like that, that ball better be out now because you got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, but I mean that's a very good highlight right there for any quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It looks like he's gonna hurt himself every time he throws it with his upper body because it's just all upper body. Maybe that's how he got hurt.
out for Tommy John.
Yeah, I mean it's all upper body when he throws. He gets his legs in the right position. He just doesn't drive off of his legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that he has such good form to get himself in position because then he doesn't use it. But he places the ball pretty well.
I mean, gets it exactly where he wants it to. And I mean, we saw one highlight of him scrambling here. This is a straight QB draw. You could see the running back coming downhill trying to get like an ISO block on that linebacker. This is straight up. You hit that back foot and you take off, kid. So with that, that was pretty much all of the Warren film I could salvage. They don't have anything on their huddles, and quite frankly, I wasn't going to spend my time going through their YouTube and clipping individual defensive plays. So we could talk about the defense a little bit on the other side of film when we're breaking down Warren. So with that, we'll get out of here and break them down, huh?
Yep.
All right, got to see a little bit of film on Warren, so let's kick it to Rob and start breaking down the guys on the roster, huh?
Alrighty, we'll start up front as always. Offensive line, decent sized offensive line, 6'3", 250, 6'2", 230, 6', 260, 5'10", 270, 6'3", 260. Not a whole lot of talking points about any single one of them individually. As a group, I mean, they're decent, nothing amazing. They are, what do you say, 4-4 on the year. We've kind of been told that they aren't the greatest team in the world. But I mean, watching some of those highlights, I kind of like the pockets that they created for the quarterback. We didn't see a whole lot of guys getting beat consistently. There wasn't anything about it that really jumped off the table for me, except for there weren't as many there at the end. But we saw 6, 7, 8 bad snaps to start off film room on Warren. So that's something to pay attention to at least. Especially with Big Mike lining up over the middle, every team seems to have more bad snaps than normal. So if that is an issue for them, I would expect it to continue to be an issue this week. The one point here, I'm sure this is for you, Hank, but their right tackle, I'm going to give him the win for the name game. Dan Greathouse.
That is a hell of a name. It is the one that stuck out to me. If you got a great house anchoring your offensive line on either side, doesn't matter right or left, that's a guy I'd be comfortable taking snaps behind. The other one that sticks out to me, depending on how you want to pronounce his first name, is the left tackle.
Yeah.
If it's
Oh,
Juwan, pretty meh name. But if it's Juan Wade, I am all in on that. The alliteration, phenomenal.
yeah. I mean, based on spelling, my first guess would be Juan, but you never know. Juan Wade, that's a good one.
But yeah, not
Let's
much size
see
up front.
here.
I think Big Mike might double his bad snaps caused count on the year on Friday night. So we shall see.
Yeah, so let's get into their skill players. For the receivers, they got a bunch of them. Let's see here. Senior 5'10", 150, 6', 170, 6'3", 170, all seniors, and a junior 5'10", 165. A few other guys that they can mix in as well. I mean, in general, Warren has a lot of speed, a lot of skill guys that can make a guy miss. They can open up the field. Just a lot of speed in general across the entire field. So not any single one of them stand out as, this is their top guy. This is their D1 receiver that has offers from I mean, none of that. Just a bunch of quick, fast players all the way across the field. Their quarterback. So Drew's the one that we just watched. He's been hurt. Not sure what kind of injury or if he'll be back, anything like that. They have another quarterback, 6'3", 200, Chaz Coleman. Uh, Basically, the scouting report on him is basically the same scouting report as Drew that we just watched. I mean, I'm doubting that he has the same form that I would sit here and critique for 20 minutes. So I'm glad that Hank took this guy's highlights. But when it actually comes down to their talent, it's a pretty similar scouting report. Running back, Antonio Smith, 5'10", 170, like Hank alluded to earlier. Looks like that's kind of their guy. He's fast, strong, shifty. They're going to move him around, wildcat stuff, and it seems like they're going to give him the ball as many times as they can find ways to do so.
Yeah, seems like a guy they want to feed the rock. Not really much to see in the passing game from what I saw, but high leverage situations, be it wildcat or just a handoff in the backfield, it seems like a guy they want the ball in his hands.
Yeah. Let's see here. We move on over to defense. Starting with the defensive line. Uh, we have a junior, sophomore, senior, 6'2", 195, 6'1", 270, 6', 230. So their nose is pretty decent sized at 270, but their ends 195, 230. Maybe a little bit undersized, especially if they stick with a three-man front of what we see on a scouting report. Sure, Hank can chime in on that a little bit more. But if we move to these linebackers, senior, sophomore, 6', 180, 6'1", 215, 6', 185. So, not super undersized, but kind of similar to what we said last week with Fitch. If your defensive line isn't going to be huge, you'd hope to make up for with your linebackers maybe. But in general, it looks like this is probably a faster, quicker, athletic defensive front rather than a mauling sized presence one.
Yeah, you got there at the linebackers, you got Brian and Ryan Powell. I don't know if they're the same age or at least in the same grade. Don't know if they're twins or just brothers or what. Parents didn't feel like getting too creative with the names on that one, but still pretty nifty little linebacker pairing right there with Brian and Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan is a three-star rated player with offers from the likes of Boston College.
Yeah, how would you like to be the brother that's an inch shorter, 30 pounds lighter, and zero college offers?
Well, we're kind of assuming that they're brothers, right?
I am making an
Um,
assumption there because I mean, Powell's not the most common last name, and the fact that you got Brian and Ryan, like, what are the odds of that one?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure there's plenty of situations out there where that has happened. And then there's sophomore, 6 foot 180, Tyler Smith. Um, let's see here, a blitzer. I'm guessing they kind of use him as that like jackbacker.
Yeah, they'll use him as a bit of an adjuster, kind of the backside quasi D end, even though they don't really get out of that 3-man front. They will walk him down when they get into some bear fronts and some blitz looks, but they'll drop him too. So, I mean, he's that quintessential jack. He can kind of do it all. Maybe not well,
Okay.
but he does do it.
So we'll move on to the secondary. And if you're looking for them to make up for the lack of size up front with the secondary, that would not be correct. So their safeties, 5'8", 150, 5'10", 150, 5'11", one safety, 170. Um, two safeties and a nickel. And their corners 5'10", 165, 6'3", 170. So I mean their corners are actually bigger than their safeties. Kind of uncommon there. But in general, the biggest guy in their secondary is 170. So I'm guessing not a whole lot of thumping power back there as well. So I'm sure they're gonna have to come up and they're gonna have to cover some of the run, but a smaller defense, but a quicker defense. So probably more up the middle and less side to side for
Yeah.
us.
I do want to point out their nickel, Braylon Dyson. That is a lacrosse name if I have ever heard one in my life. With that, just kind of taking a bird's eye view of the rest of the team. Special teams are pretty meh, but they make up for it with team speed, and that I think that's kind of the name of their game overall is just having that team speed there. Their offense, they like to operate out of the four wide. They'll use the fullback a little bit when they want to go heavy, need to get a couple yards. They go to that wildcat. We saw a couple plays of that, but it's a high leverage package for them. That's something they feel like they can lean on, and I don't blame them for it. When you're in those gotta have it situations, get the ball in your best player's hands. Defensively, they stay almost exclusively in that 3-down front. Don't really move those guys around at all. From what I saw, it was just a straight up. You got a guy head up over the nose, and you got a guy head up over the tackles. When they do want to change up the front a little bit, they will get into a bit of bear front, kind of bring down that nickel on the strong side, bring down that jackbacker on the weak side, create that 5-man front there, just get 5 one-on-ones across the board. They do seem a little more blitz happy than I really remember off the top of my head Warren being in the past. Their linebackers, their inside guys, they do like to move around quite a bit. Walk up on the line and drop off, walk up on the line and blitz. They like to, I think the name of the game there is just get movement and try and confuse the offensive line, make them unsure of who's coming or who's not. They stay pretty exclusively too high defense, but they will go cover zero when they want to send the house, and they don't seem to be afraid to play man coverage. I don't know if that's just based on who they're playing or if that's something they are just going to kind of have to feel like they live in. Against us, like we've talked about, we don't have those size mismatches to take advantage of kind of a smaller secondary, but I think we have the skill. So if, are they going to try and blitz a lot more and be aggressive, or are they going to sit back and just try and keep everything in front of them, come up, rally to the ball? Don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd say they just, put it all out on the table, fuck it, we ball, and try and get our guys off our spots. So that'll be an interesting matchup. The offense, I think they're going to have some tough sledding all night. We talked about earlier with Fitch dinking and dunking down the field on us. They like those hitches. They're a big fan of lining up, 2x2 or 3x1, running, 3 or 4 guys on hitches, maybe one guy shooting right down the pipe up the middle of the D. They like a lot of double moves, so our secondary is going to have to be, play. Don't try and make the big play. trying to get the interception after you've seen the hitch in front of you 5 times because you know that hitch and go is going to be coming. Other side of that, they're going to have to protect long enough to be able to throw that kind of stuff. For as much as we talk about, they don't seem to have much going for them. There have been spots here and there where it seems like they've done a good job at least attempting to scheme up our defense. I think it was in 22 when they were here playing us, they ran smash with the running back going right down the pipe. Classic cover 4 beater. You're trying to get your running back lined up in a matchup, running straight down the field, one-on-one with your Mike linebacker. Unfortunately for them, it seemed like their running back was a much bigger, burlier guy, didn't have much speed to him, so they just couldn't, take advantage of that matchup. But, we talk down on them a lot, I think, compared to a lot of other teams. Rightfully so or not, that's just been a talking point for a while, but they do make attempts to at least, game plan for us, and they always seem to at least start off giving us a game. So I'm excited for Friday night and what the game's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good matchup with Warren just because it seems like they always have a couple mismatch athletes out there. The issue is they can never really put it together as a full team, a full scheme. So, they're always capable of making really big plays, and you got to respect them every single year, no matter what. I mean, I'm excited for it. It's week 9, the end of the regular season. So, I mean, go out there and, you can't go 10-0, 12-0, 14-0, 16-0 without first going 9-0. So you got to go out there, take care of business, and get it done.
Yeah, that's the name of the game Friday night. And this just feels like a team that I trust that they're going to go out there and take care of business and maybe feel like, we talked about that quarter and a half, bit of a slump for the offense, that they got a little something to prove Friday night too. So that'll be exciting to watch, see if we come out there and really try and prove a point. So with that, we'll keep it right on moving.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for him to come out and prove me wrong, and not wrong. I think I'm right about what I said, but shut me up. Just shut me up and say, we were able to put up, 50 points on these guys in the first half, rest everybody in the second half. Not that I'm, looking to sitting players out, but I'm hoping this can be a game where we can, get everybody out clean, safe, uninjured, and keep it moving for, next week and beyond.
Yeah. Christmas is coming next week, but have to get through this week first. So with that, we'll keep it right on moving along. We got any spreads tonight?
Oh, yeah, let me pull that up. I already forgot about that. I was going right into announcing last week's winner, but let's go to spreads. Haven't looked at them yet. Ooh, here's a good one. Moeller at St. Ed's. Ed's -4.5.
Oh, baby.
That's a good game.
That'll be a really good game.
Moeller's good. Did they play Iggy last week? Yeah, they beat the brakes off of Iggy. But I don't remember if that was last week or not. Whatever. Yeah. Ignatius stinks. All right, what do you got?
Is it Moeller or Elder or someone else that earlier in the season they lost 3 to all out-of-state teams, and the one Fantastic 50 guy still had him ranked high because his algorithm didn't account for out-of-state teams?
I'm not sure. So last year in this game, Eds won 6-0. And then a comparable opponent this year, Moeller beat Elder 38-7. Eds beat Elder 34-33.
Interesting.
So if you were only going off of the comparable opponent there,
yeah,
they both beat the bricks off of Ignatius. But Elder did better against Eds than they did against Moeller, for what it's worth. I think Moeller played Eds first and then played Xavier or played Moeller after that. So a little bit of teach tape, but
Hmm. Um,
Ed's 4.5 at home.
Ed's 4.5. God, that is the bookies setting the line at like the perfect spot. Which I mean, I know that's kind of their thing, but give me Moeller with the upset.
Okay. Not mad about it. Glen Oak traveling to McKinley. McKinley 19 and a half.
Glen Oak's gotten marginally better as the years went on. Uh,
Yeah, they tapered off though.
Mc-
I think Glen Oak hit their peak.
McKinley has always had a tendency to look ahead a little bit and kind of stumble at week 9. So I like McKinley straight up, but give me Glen Oak to cover.
I think I'm going to take McKinley to cover. McKinley has, they were stumbling a few weeks
Mm.
there in a row. I think they've turned it on. I think they're doing okay, and I also think Glen Oak has completely maxed out. They were covering, they were doing decent for the first half of the year. They've kind of fallen back off the second half of the year. So, 19 and a half, I know that could be a lot, but I'd like to say that McKinley keeps it rolling and they're able to
I
cover.
think this one is a good barometer for where Antonio Hall's got McKinley with that program. If they can come out and absolutely dominate Glen Oak like they should, week 9, the week before the Massillon game, I'm gonna be much more confident in that program than what little I know about them now. Besides the fact that they're generally beating the teams that they're supposed to beat.
Yep. So Perry going to Lake. Lake 14 and a half.
Neither team. They both lose. Perry's trash. Give me Lake to cover.
Yeah, I think so. Lake impressed me when they beat Jackson, but then Jackson kind of stunk since
I was gonna
then.
say you've been like
So
really high on Jackson, but since you like,
they were. Jackson was doing great, and then Lake knocked him off and just like ruined their season.
I think their players had baseball camps coming up. They had more important things to do than play football.
Jackson kids don't play two sports. Uh, Dalton, 5.5 point favorites at Norwayne, and the winner is the league champion.
What's their league?
The WCAL, Wayne County Athletic League.
Are they playing for a gilded corn cob? Because I really hope that's their league trophy.
No, I think it's just a regular corn cob.
Ah, gotcha. So they have to replace it every year, or is it like just the same one they've been passing around for years now?
Yeah, probably.
Um, man, you got the battle of the Titans here. I think I've been.
This is a championship game. Don't down talk it.
I said battle of the Titans. You got Dalton and you got Norwayne, two Wayne, Wayne County football powerhouses. Um, I'll go chalk. Give me Dalton to cover.
Ohio State minus 19 and a half at Purdue.
I think Ohio State wins it, but 19.5 is a lot of points for this team, and I just feel icky every time I watch Ohio State's offense now. So give me Purdue to cover.
Yeah. I could see it going either way. I mean, Ohio State is very capable of backdoor covering a lot of games. Um, I think that the offense is going to have to, they can't fall flat 2 weeks in a row, right? They're going to have to come out better this week than they did last
Mm.
week. But one talking point, they mentioned it during the game, and they also mentioned it like week 2, kind of different concepts, but it all tied together. Is that Ohio State's total possessions per game is very low this year. They're like third least in the NCAA,
Really?
and it's the at least the talking point about it last week was because of the type of defense we
Mm-hmm.
play, we give up longer drives, but we don't give up points.
Mm.
But because of that, our offense gets less drives. Earlier in the year, they were blaming it on the commercials and how Ohio State, like week one, had like 8 less possessions than they did last year, week one, or something like that.
Yeah.
But so opportunities to score are less for Ohio State this year compared to other years.
That would
And also, the offense isn't as explosive as it
I was
has
going to say
been.
that would make me feel a lot better about the lack of points they've been putting up if I didn't watch them with my eyes and see they look like absolute dog water at certain points.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know why, but Ohio State just they cannot get their offensive line to work like consistently year in, year out. The offensive line struggles.
I mean, I don't know where the disconnect is as far as like they are all very talented players.
Yeah.
They have explosive guys on the outside. Defenses have to respect that, so you should have more opportunities in the box. I think the God, yeah, the problem, a lot of it is they like want to marry this outside zone run game to this air raidy type passing game. They don't run the constraints off of either one. This is what we talk about when we're talking about having an offensive scheme that fits together. It's two like diametrically opposed things that you normally can't really mesh together very well. They don't run the boot off the outside zone too much. They don't have much of a run game when they want to go 4 wide. They're in love with the 2 tight end sets for some reason. When we have a wide receiver room that's like legitimately 8 players deep, and Stover, for as talented as he is, he's not much of a blocker. And then whoever else they're throwing out there at tight end isn't that much of a pass catching threat. It's like it's like beating my head against the wall every time I watch them second and long and they run stretch into the boundary. It's like the beatings will continue until morale improves type deal. I don't know like where the disconnect is in Ryan Day or anyone else in that offensive room is involved in, but it's a power running line. It's a gap scheme line. The first game of the season, who'd they play the first game? Indiana. Like they did a good job switching it up, running gap scheme, counter, power, and still running that, mid outside zone. And you could tell they looked so much better running the gap scheme stuff. And I don't know what it is, but every goddamn time, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 8, they are just running stretch into the boundary, and they are in love with that zone running scheme that doesn't mesh with the passing attack, nor does it really like put the players that are running it in the best advantage to showcase their talents. It is absolutely fucking infuriating if you can't hear it in my voice by now.
Yeah, I don't know if you were like paying really close attention or listening to the announcers last week, but they kept showing highlights of the offensive line struggling in the run game. And like not once did a double team ever get up onto a backer. The backers are just free every single play. Our players are just stuck trying to work a double team, kind of lost in the sauce. Like he would come off of it, but then not get up to the backer. He's just kind of like occupying a gap, and the backer ends up going to what becomes an open gap and makes the play. And it was just consistently like they're not getting the double team. They're not getting off the double team. They're not getting off the double team. And the linebackers are just going untouched every single time. And I don't understand why. I mean, you would think that with the offensive line we have, the size we have year in, year out, you could line up and get a yard, get 2 yards. And I mean, we're struggling to do that.
So I didn't get to catch much of the Maryland game. I was at a wedding down in Kentucky. That's why I had to watch that god-awful broadcast on Friday night. But I just go back to one specific play against Indiana in the first game. And everyone and their mother knows that we're going to run stretch into the boundary. So what the defense does is they put a very loose 3-tech into the boundary. And the way those double teams work out is it's going to be the left guard and the center on that double team trying to scoop that 3-tech and work their way up to the backer. And ultimately what needs to happen is the center needs to reach a guy that's lined up over his offensive guard's outside shoulder before that guard can actually come off the tackle and work to the second level. So it's defenses know what they're trying to do, and they can put their guys in the best position to defeat it, and Ohio State's not making the fucking adjustments or just abandoning that bullshit completely. So they're just constantly putting their guys in impossible situations, because I don't care what level you're at, if you're asking your center to consistently reach a 3-tech, that is a losing business model.
Yeah, I mean, that's more specific than I can get about it, but I can tell you that our offensive line has stunk for a couple of years now. It's not fun to watch.
No, it's absolutely infuriating. I mean, you can hear it in my voice as someone who loves O-line play, that they're not doing their guys any favors. And I mean, they're big name recruits. I don't know if it's like a lack of development or if it's just they are so consistently putting them in bad spots that they don't even get a chance to showcase what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys go on and have decent NFL careers. It's not like they're scrubs. Last year both our tackles, insanely highly ranked players. They're both starting in the NFL right now. Our center, NFL guy, he's with the Browns, but he looked good in the preseason. Obviously, he's buried in the depth chart, but he's an NFL guy for sure. And there's guys floating around that were Ohio State linemen that have NFL jobs right now. And when they were with Ohio State, they didn't really get to showcase that all the time. So, I mean, I don't know what it is, but in general, scheme, development, I mean they're making it to the NFL and they're doing okay. Development must be all right, but it's not working together as a unit, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to this game without another beer in my hand, so give me Ohio State to not cover.
Indiana is going to Michigan. Michigan 33.5.
Michigan is doing what any great team should do and beating up on inferior opponents. They're just laying the wood on this cupcake schedule, which, I mean, you can give them all the shit you want for not playing anybody, but they are beating up every team on their schedule. So props to them. Give me Michigan.
Arkansas going to Alabama. Alabama 19.5.
I don't know shit about Arkansas. I know Alabama's finally kind of found their way a bit, so give me Bama to cover.
Iowa State going to Cincinnati. Cincy 5.5.
Oh, that just
Neither team is neither team is very good.
this just sounds like an absolute schlock fest of a football game. God, what's the spread?
Cincy 5.5.
Iowa State had a big win last week, if I remember correctly.
Maybe.
I think Matt Campbell and the Cyclones are going to keep that momentum rolling, and the new entrant to the Big 12 is going to keep getting hazed as they should. So give me Iowa State to win.
Oregon going to Washington. Washington 2.5-point favorites.
Oh, do we have a kickoff time for this one? Because this one's going to be fun.
I don't know, 1 a.m.
Yeah, a little Pac-12 after dark action.
I'm guessing I don't know. Yeah. Probably not. That's a good game.
God, that's like, I think the two most complete teams in the Pac-12, I'd say. Boy, oh boy, what was the number on that one?
Washington 2.5.
Wow. I know they got a QB. I haven't really been able to catch any of their games, but I know they've been on a tear out there. However, I did see Oregon just absolutely do whatever they wanted to Colorado, and I know it's just Colorado, but give me Oregon in the upset.
Louisville 7.5-point favorites at Pittsburgh.
Louisville's on the up and up. Pittsburgh is very blah in the most boring way possible. Give me Louisville.
Pittsburgh's a decent team, but yeah, I think Louisville, um, after what they smacked Notre Dame last week, and Notre Dame's a pretty quality team,
Mhm.
so I think that's fair. Miami going to North Carolina. North Carolina 3.5 point favorites.
Not quite the bounce back game Miami was hoping for after top five worst football coaching
Worst
decision
fumbling the
ever.
bags ever. Yeah.
Um, North Carolina's got a QB, and Miami is just in a bad spot in a worse way right now. So give me North Carolina.
All right, here's another good game. USC is traveling to Notre Dame.
Oh, buddy.
Notre Dame 2.5 point favorites.
Notre Dame 2.5, huh?
They've been struggling lately. Um, but USC has no defense.
I think they might be better off on defense if they just didn't put anyone out there. At least that way the offense could score quicker and they would get the ball back even faster and score
Yeah.
more. So I think USC is going to keep doing what they're doing and score pretty much every time they touch the ball. However, I think Notre Dame, after seeing their run game against Ohio State, is going to absolutely smash USC's defense in the face even more than what they've already been this entire year. And that's just going to suck the entire soul out of that team out west. So give me Notre Dame.
North Carolina State going to Duke. Duke 3.5 point favorites.
Duke's on a bit of a come up. They're no longer a basketball school. I don't know shit about NC State besides Russell Wilson went there, I think. So give me Duke.
Would you like to guess the Maslin spread?
Maslin minus 29.5.
Mm, close. And when I say close, I mean not really. Maslin minus 49.5.
Holy shit.
So I can tell you the reasoning for it if you'd like.
Yeah.
It is a well-known talking point in the high school betting realm that Maslin is 8-0 against the spread this year. So I think the spread is a little inflated due to Maslin's ability to cover rather than if you're looking at the game individually.
So they're setting the line and saying, okay.
It might be a little inflated because Maslin continues to cover every week.
I was running through my head. I'm like, all right, the guys might be thinking Maslin offense kind of stumbled a little bit. Yeah, they ran up and down the field, but it's a running game. It's if the defense can at least keep one guy up top to make a shoestring tackle. We don't have very many true explosive touchdown opportunities. It's like we're not chucking it over the defense's head. Warren's got a lot of team speed. They might be able to break one or two. It's like how a lot of teams have scored on us. Against cover zero, you make one man miss and it's gone for 6. But I was thinking we'd run it up on them. They might stumble into one decent touchdown and maybe get another garbage time tutty or two. But holy hell, we put up that many points.
Yeah.
There's not.
I mean,
with the running clock, there's not even enough time in the game to get that.
well, I kind of understand it though, because against Fitch, even when we faltered for an entire quarter, we are still able to score 42.
Mm.
I think in general, people have Fitch higher than Warren this year. So they're like, well, if you put 42 on Fitch with taking a quarter off, what are you going to do to Warren? Now, I don't know if that's a fair assessment of Warren, but I could understand it. And if you're trying to inflate it a little bit, then I get it.
So you said minus 42.
49
49.
and a half.
49 and a half.
Yeah. So 7 full touchdown, extra points, and more.
We would have covered that once this year against Elkhart, who we beat 55-0. But it was minus 49 against Glen Oak. It was 41 Mansfield. Other than that, everything else is in the 20s and 30s, and then the couple games with Valdosta and St. Ed's and St. John's. That is a lot of points. My God.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying, with the way we run the ball and my faith in Warren to break off 1 or 2 bullshit tutties, I don't think we cover that one. And that is no slight to Massillon. That is just...
Yeah.
Jesus.
A lot of points.
We're really going to be awestruck next week when we walk into this and Massillon covered, aren't we?
Yeah. It's not impossible.
It is not impossible. So...
2 touchdowns per quarter. That's all it is.
You got to look at it more like 3 touchdowns in the first and second, because that running clock in the third and fourth is not going to be it's not going to behoove a team to cover 49 and a half.
Yeah.
So, that's all I got on that one. With that, do you want to announce the winner and cover any other Twitter stuff going on?
Yep. So, just like last week, we put out a little game to see who could guess closest to the amount of rushing yards Massillon would have. And what was the official number, Hank? 422?
Official net yards rushing is 439.
439. So the winner was only off by 115 yards. The winner is Ken. That's just his name, Ken. His handle is at Stevens11O, the letter 5. Stevens1105. You won the contest with a guess of 323. That was the highest guess we had. I would also like to make a special shout out to Zach, because Zach sent in his guess at the beginning of the second quarter, and he said 188. And I think we already had 150 when he sent that in, so special shout out. But 323 was the winner, so congratulations, Ken.
What a guy. I'm talking about Zach. Ken, that's... I don't think we saw any guesses in the 400s for St. John's. That is just... Woo! Any other Twitter stuff going on? Fan questions? Anything like that?
Not that I noticed. I'll double check real quick, but...
So...
I don't think so.
While you're double checking, anybody, any questions, just send stuff in. We'd, love to have some talking points on the show. I saw the one guy on there asked us about a potential Hoban matchup, but I am 95% sure that's a troll account, so we're just ignoring that one.
100%. He created his account on Friday, and he had a few not so nice tweets on his that he posted before asking us that question, because I looked at his account also, and I was like, you have 4 career tweets. You created your account today, and these do not look like good tweets or a person I want to interact with. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I don't know.
Not enough sample size there for me to interact with it.
It seemed like a very purposeful hater account, and the fact that he made it as we were kicking Fitch's ass. Always, boys and girls, whenever you want to get in a fight with somebody on Twitter or on social media, anything like that, always just take a quick peruse through their profile. If they either just made the account, or if it's just an anonymous one, or if they only have 2 followers and they've had the account since 2011, it's probably just a troll, and you can ignore them immediately.
Or it could be Hank. So you should definitely ignore
I have
it.
more than 2 followers. I like it.
Not on your troll accounts.
Oh, on those? No. I have hundreds of those, but those are all bots. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I pump those numbers up. I make it look legit. You know, I have my own checklist of trolls I'm cross-referencing and making sure I don't check any of those boxes. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's big brain stuff over here, buddy.
All right.
So with that, you got anything else tonight, brother?
Nope. I'm just ready for this Warren game. Excited for it. The end of the regular season, and time to get past it. But you got to get through it first. I will literally be going through the roof for this game, so quite excited.
Attaboy, brother. So with that, go Tigers, beat Warren.
Go Tigers.
Lay back and smell the sun, warm up the Georgia pie. Feels so good to be taking it easy. Why would I ever leave? 'Cause I know I got some good friends that live down the street. Got a good looking woman with her arms around me. Here in a small town where it feels like home. I got everything I need and nothing that I don't. Oh no, oh no. We got a fire go down by the riverside. Sip whiskey out the bottle, living like we'll never die. Come on and stay a while if you don't believe me. Why would I ever leave? 'Cause I know I got some good friends that live down the street. Got a good looking woman with her arms around me. Here in a small town where it feels like home. I got everything I need and nothing that I don't. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I got some good friends that live down the street. Got a good looking woman with her arms around me. Here in a small town where it feels like home. I got everything I need and nothing that I don't. Everything I need and nothing that I don't. It's the way that you carry from the things you think you want. It's the way that you carry from the things you think you wear. It's you even caring. It's the way that you carry from the things you think you want. I got everything I need, nothing that I don't. Everything I need, nothing that I don't. Everything I need, nothing that I don't. Oh, everything I need and nothing that I don't.